from the OPTA as our PTA Cox rep, Jen Woods.
Yep.
Take it away.
So help me out here. First year. Oh, you guys.
They divided themselves.
Second year. Good job. You guys are busy. So.
And there's also snacks here, and believe me, I don't want to take them all home because there's so much. So be casual and come up and grab a snack or two if you like.
Breaking the no food rule.
We're breaking the no food rule.
Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and have you guys just kind of pass around. Let's do. I hope I have enough. If not, we'll send someone to run for copies. So I'm just passing out a little handout. One of the things that's hard to kind of wrap your hands around with the APTA, the American Physical Therapy Association, is it's just such a huge organization. And I didn't know this until just a little while ago, but apparently it is the largest professional association that exists. Yeah. And although I have to question, I'm not sure that the AMA I'm sure is larger, but members-wise, it's one of the largest. The good thing about that is there's, a big membership, a good cohesion there. The bad thing about that is things move a little slower than you would like sometimes. And so I'll be talking a little to you guys about that, about kind of what our job as PTA representative is in representing all of the members, the organ members at the APTA. So basically, you've got the APTA, American Physical Therapy Association, has 72,000 members. And I think if you look, let me grab my little thing. I've got a little diagram in there where it says members, 72,000. I think is that the third page? Yeah. So that's PTs and PTAs in that. The American Physical Therapy Association, I think, a good analogy. Can you guys see me if I sit here? Okay, I'll get up and walk and hyper that way. But a good way to think about the APTA is it is the director of the professional. The profession of physical therapy in research and education in clinical practice. And I'm going to just share with you, how many have you read the vision statement for the APTA? Did you guys, you had to read that? Okay. So the vision statement is summed up in Vision 2020, which is kind of where they wanted the profession to go. And I've been a PT assistant for 21 years, and just to give you an example, when my first job was at Benedictine, which I got because I grew up in the area and I knew went to high school with the owners, It's very hometownish, Went there, and my first job, I had to go and physically find the PT and ask her if I could add an extra pound on the pulleys with my every time with somebody, because it was just very supervised. I mean, even just you weren't progressing exercise programs. Everything was just really probably had to do with some kind of older school PTs who weren't used to working a lot with PTAs. But taking it from that to today, which I was just telling Mark on the way up here, I was offered to be the director of rehab at the place that I'm working yesterday. So now I get to direct the 10. But back in the day, assistants wouldn't have been doing that. So really, the profession of being a PT assistant has really grown. And it's grown because the PTs have asked us to step up and do more things, do more joint mobilizations, progress exercise programs, because the profession is growing. So that's all good. Good thing. So their vision, which I think is really, it's very impressive that we have an association who has a forward-thinking vision. They've worked to move the profession to a doctorate degree. So by 2020, this is the vision statement for Vision 2020. By 2020, physical therapy will be provided by physical therapists who are doctors of physical therapy, recognized by consumers and other healthcare professionals as the practitioners of choice to whom consumers have direct access for the diagnosis of, interventions for, and prevention of impairments, functional limitation, and disabilities related to movement and function. They talk about going to a doctorate degree, some different things. So we'll talk a little bit more about where assistants fit into that, but that's one of the things that we need to work on. We need to get a little more assistant language going in that direction, because I think, or I saying the big organizations tend to move a little bit slow. That's one of the things I think they haven't quite caught up with what we're doing in the clinic necessarily at that level. So that's kind of my job. It's kind of what I'm kind of at the table going. And PT assistants, add that language in there. So it's fun. I've really enjoyed it. I've only been doing the PT caucus rep for a year. So really I'm just getting into kind of knowing everybody and knowing the people on the board and stuff. But so under your major umbrella there with the APTA, how do they decide to adopt Vision 2020 and say this is where we want the profession to go? Well, the House of Delegates is really where it's the driving force behind the association. The House of Delegates is 400 delegates that are elected by the APTA members. So those are really the people who are making the casting the votes to make the decision of this is a policy we want to adopt or not. Those delegates, for instance, in Oregon, you'll see in like the fall business meeting and the spring business meeting of the Oregon branch of the association, we will constantly be kind of turning over our delegates. They go for, I think it's a 2-year term, and they can run two consecutive terms, so it can be a 4-year term altogether. So those delegates are 7 PTs, and then PT assistant, me, the PTA caucus rep, go to the House of Delegates, which is actually a pretty big thing. The House of Delegates is all these people listed in the center. The only ones who vote are the PTs, who are the PT delegates. So that's why I put under there the voting body. Those are the 400 members. But there's actually the board of directors in there. There is section delegates. So the APTA has 18 sections. So if you have a special interest, and Christina will kind of help us out understanding this too, but I belong to the orthopedic section and the geriatric section, just things that I have an interest in. So I pay like $30 more a year and get the latest research, what's going on in that particular type. But there's 18 different sections. So each section has delegates that go to the House. So you have all the representation for all the different interest areas of physical therapy. Right over here in the red is us. So that's the PTA caucus delegates. PTA caucus is the representative body for PTAs. There are far fewer. There's probably a third of PTA members, and I think licensed, but even less percentage of PTA members compared to the PTs. So it's by far more PTs, that's the thing. But the PTA caucus is one representative from each state, so 52. And then we have our little group. So we might be the caucus, the PTA caucus right here. And we have our own meetings outside of the House of Delegates, and I'll talk about that a little bit more. The PTA caucus elects our leaders, and we elect 5 people who will sit in this position here on the House floor, in the House of Delegates. Okay? Non-voting. So they are allowed to speak and get up and say things, but they are not allowed to vote. So, but they are the voice of the PTA, so if something is being discussed that may affect the PTAs, they ask the delegates to come up and speak on that behalf. And they get that from what the feel is on a certain topic. They will get from talking to the 52 caucus reps. Okay, I get that information that I take to the group from talking to Oregon members. So either coming out seeing people in clinics, seeing people at the conference. We have a PTA listserv, which is one of my favorite things and that's Mark and I will chime in on things, and it's a nice way to easily send an email. So I'll give an example later of some of the topics that we've been discussing. So, you can reach the PTAs all over the state and kind of get their opinions on things, and I'll kind of write it down in my notebook and take it with me, and they'll say, what is Oregon thinking on this? Well, Oregon PTAs are concerned about this, or, we're not really having that issue in Oregon, those kinds of things. So from the House of Delegates is sort of like, if you want to, it's really hard to describe unless you've been there, but it's sort of like, it's the legislative body. So it's run very formally by Robert's Rules, which is really fun. I had a blast listening to them. You go into this big room, there's 400, there's got to be 1,000 people in the room altogether. They've got the 400 delegates up front. There's a stage with the Speaker of the House who is very formally, you have to make motions, you have to be acknowledged to speak. They choose who can speak on what topic based on, it's actually a very old process that they use to make sure that the minority voice is heard. So you can't just have all the people who have the big mouths and are, the majority that's in favor of something. They will have a system for picking. We're going to listen to California, and then we're going to listen to Virginia. This one's speaking for, that one's speaking against, whatever the topic is that they're talking about. So it's very much kind of reminds me of like your legislature that you sit in on. So it's, the PTA caucus, the 52 representatives are sitting in the back of the room. There's like a little rope, and there's what's called a gallery in the back. And those are people who are not speaking on the floor, but we can run messages. So, and that happens quite a bit. You're writing notes, because my 7 PTs are sitting up front or up off to the left, and they may send back a note and say, what do you think about this? Or, this might affect PTAs. What do you think, Oregon would think I'm not going to be write something back. And they have ushers that run notes and stuff. So
even in practice, you still can't text message each other. So it's all paper messages.
I never thought about that, but it's true. Why don't we text? Because we'd be sitting there texting. Yeah. So it's really very cool. But yeah, and they have ushers, and you guys may come into play on that. So I have to tell you, the ushers get to be out on the floor, and they are volunteers who are very active in running the messages back and forth if there's a motion or an amendment. I'm not sure they're necessarily like pages are in the legislature, but they're like assistants. They run messages back and forth and do different tasks. So one of the things I'm here to talk to you about today is the OPTA offers what's called an Emerging Leader Award. And Mark, did you or Christina get to talk about this?
We talked a little bit about some of the opportunities of emerging leaders in today's last week.
Yeah, so I brought, you've got the application online. I also brought some copies of it that I would really encourage you guys. That's, if I get anything done tonight, it would be that you kind of understand a little bit about the structure of the APTA and what it means to us. But then also that you take the chance to fill out the application for the Emerging Leader. And what it is the OPTA will sponsor, it's $500, I believe, a little bit more, depending on where the House of Delegates is being held. But we will look at applications, collect applications from PTA students, and then also from PT students. And then in January, the delegation will meet, we'll review the applications, and we'll kind of vote on one PTA student and one PT student to go to the House of Delegates with us. And this next year, it's in Baltimore, National Harbor, which is closer to DC, I guess. I thought it was in Baltimore, but I guess it's close enough you can do the whole DC thing, which is really cool. So I want to kind of get you excited about that.